So Dillian Whyte defeated Christian Hammer over the weekend, actually on a Sunday in Ireland on an apparently untelevised show, although Sky Sports have managed to come up with some footage with Irish commentary. This was obviously the first fight Dillian Whyte has had since the Jermaine Franklin bout back in November 2022, so well over a year at this point. And of course, at the back end of summer last year, he was supposed to fight Anthony Joshua in a rematch, but failed a PED test. So he's back now fighting with a Texas license, and Texas are the commission that cleared him of any wrongdoing. I find that strange because the fight with Anthony Joshua was going to be sanctioned by the British Boxing Board of Control. I understand that there are some British fighters who fight in the UK under foreign licenses. I get that. But everything about that particular contest was being overseen by the British Boxing Board of Control. The test that Dillian Whyte failed was a VADA test, and we saw what happened when Conor Benn failed a VADA test and the steps that the British Boxing Board of Control took in that situation. So why shouldn't the same things apply to Dillian Whyte? If he's going to fight in the UK, presumably he's going to have to clear things with the British board. Is Dillian Whyte looking to circumvent all of that? Now, from a PR perspective, Dillian Whyte played it the same way he's played it in the past when he's failed tests. He just keeps his head down and allows the storm to blow over. It's the way politicians do in the political world. You might think you're going through a scandal right now, but there's so much going on from one week to the next that a new scandal is going to come along involving somebody else very, very quickly, and it's going to draw public attention away from you. Dillian Whyte was smart enough to figure that out years ago, and he implemented the same strategy in this latest incident where he failed a PED test. And nobody seems to be mad at him, or very few people seem to be mad at him. Compare that to Conor Benn, where people are still taking jabs at him on social media, etc. On virtually every Conor Benn interview. You look at the comment section and he's getting a load of stick. So there's a lesson there for the likes of Conor Benn in how to deal with these situations in terms of PR, right? Conor Benn handled it in the worst way possible. Now, obviously, we would like to see a clean sport or a cleaner sport. You're never going to get a completely clean sport. That's impossible. But we would like to see a cleaner sport. I'm just talking about from the perspective of, again, public relations. So anyway, all that aside, Dillian Whyte is back. I'm assuming he won't be fighting in the UK anytime soon because he doesn't seem to want to answer questions about what's going on with the British Boxing Board of Control and so on. Perhaps he's hoping to either get a big opportunity in the United States. His Texas license will be fine, I'm assuming, countrywide. If he doesn't have a British Boxing Board of Control license and he isn't banned in the UK for anything because he's yet to have a hearing, then maybe he's good to go anywhere outside of Britain. Because remember, Conor Benn did have a British Boxing Board of Control license in the run-up to that Chris Eubank Jr. fight that never happened. So he was under their jurisdiction, whereas according to Dillian Whyte, he hasn't held a British Boxing Board of Control license, or at least he's been fighting under a Texas license for several years now. Anyway, the actual Christian Hammer fight itself. From what I've seen of it, because there isn't much footage out there, there's some mobile phone footage which is shot in portrait mode. I've got no idea why people who are gonna post footage of an entire fight shot on a mobile phone would shoot it in portrait mode. It's the dumbest thing ever. You would shoot it in landscape mode, surely. Like, what's going on? What are we doing? So there's that footage, and then there's the footage which Sky have, which is pretty decent footage, but there's very little of it. It's just highlights, and by the looks of it, it wasn't a particularly great spectacle. Dillian Whyte was wearing some Irish-themed boxing trunks. He claims to have some Irish ancestry, and so obviously he was leaning into that. Christian Hammer's a fighter who has quit in several fights in the past. He quit against Joe Joyce and he's quit against a number of people. So it shouldn't have been any surprise to Dillian Whyte that he quit in this fight too. He refused to answer the bell. I think it was for the 4th round. Dillian Whyte, as we know, fights with a lot of intensity. He hits hard. He's not the most athletic guy you've ever seen. Doesn't have great coordination or balance, but he's as game as they come. And that was too much for Christian Hammer. 3 rounds, in Hammer's view obviously, was enough to earn the purse that he turned up to collect. So moving forward, assuming the PED stuff doesn't become an ongoing issue, and just for the record, I do think that Dillian Whyte should answer to the British Boxing Board of Control because he failed a test for a fight on British soil, just to make my position clear on that. But if none of that's a problem, what does Dillian Whyte's future look like in the heavyweight division? The fire's probably still there, based upon his reaction to Christian Hammer quitting, and Dillian Whyte has very much got a business mind. You know, don't get it twisted with certain individuals who are not particularly educated, not particularly eloquent. Some people are naturally wired for business. They might come across as a bit uncouth, but they've got a little bit of a talent for it. And that might be the case with Dillian Whyte. I'm not saying he's going to be the next billionaire or whatever, but as boxers go, he is a bit of a businessman. I mean, think about the stable of fighters that he's signed over the years. The most notable individual being Fabio Wardley. That was a real find by Dillian Whyte, wasn't it? Signing Fabio Wardley. Taking him under his wing and all that kind of stuff. Managing him and so on. Obviously bringing him on in the gym with their sparring sessions, etc. And of course, he applies that business mind to his own career as well, Dillian Whyte. So yeah, he'll be looking for the Saudi money if it comes along. But I suspect he'll also be looking at potential opportunities in the United States. Because you got a load of heavyweights in America who are also looking for a big fight, but opportunities are not forthcoming. So you got the likes of Andy Ruiz, you got Deontay Wilder, Luis Ortiz, Jarrell Miller, if he comes back. These are names in the heavyweight division. If one of them got the opportunity to fight Dillian Whyte, if the money's right, they might take it because they're going to look at what Tyson Fury did to Dillian Whyte. And they might even look at the Jermaine Franklin fight and say, hey, Dillian Whyte's chin is not there anymore. They might like the risk reward of facing the body snatcher. They probably wouldn't get career high money or anything like that, but they'd probably get a decent payday for what they might view as a very winnable fight. Far less dangerous than the likes of, Usyk, Fury, Joshua, etc. Those fights coming with a much higher premium, obviously, in terms of the purses that the fighters demand. You can never completely write off a guy with the kind of power and tenacity that Dillian Whyte has, so I'm not going to do that. But I wouldn't make him favorite against any of the guys I just mentioned, the American fighters. I'd probably say it's 50-50 with Luis Ortiz, but I'd pick the other guys to beat him. Not that Dillian Whyte will pay attention to what I think. Obviously, he hasn't got to where he is in life. He's been successful financially, etc. He hasn't got to that position by listening to the doubters. So I get that. But if you guys want to hear my opinion on Dillian Whyte, I'm giving it to you. There are not many people in the top 10 of the heavyweight division who I would pick Dillian Whyte to beat at this stage. Mainly because of that punch resistance and his age, wear and tear. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think Dillian Whyte can still make a run at the heavyweight title? Do you think he can still win some big fights? Or do you think he's done? Let me know in the comment section below. And for those who have been asking for post-fight videos for the undercard of Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou, the problem with uploading such videos several days after the event is that loads and loads of people start complaining, oh, you're late on this and you're late on that and you're late on the other. And with regards to fighters like Nick Bull and, some of the other undercard bouts, they're not going to get me a load of views. So it's not worth me putting those videos up on YouTube at this late stage. Instead, I've put them on my Patreon page as audio only. One long file, which is over an hour long and includes a bunch of other boxing news, which I haven't covered on YouTube for you guys to listen to. So if you're interested in my extra boxing content, head over to my Patreon page and select the boxing tier. You can download the Patreon app from the Play Store or the App Store. There's no contract, there's no commitment. Works just like Netflix or whatever, except it's much, much cheaper than that. And I'll see you over there. We've got a group chat on Patreon, so you can come chop it up with us over there. If not, then I'll catch you on the next YouTube video.